The party leader of the Farmers Party is also the chairman of the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority. IRUNGU NYAKERA, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
So we've represented the farmers well here.
I will not comment because that's paid.
No, it's public interest.
Yes, it's public interest.
Yes.
So I will not comment today. I'll come another day.
Okay. We are here so we talk about KEMSA.
Yes.
All right. For a while, how long has it been that have you been at the helm of KEMSA now?
Actually, now 1 year.
This is 1 year.
This month we made 1 year.
Yes.
Which we are very happy because the previous board was 3 months. So we are ahead by 9 months.
Wow. We survived by 9 months. Says there's something. Shows that there's something.
Shows that there's something.
Okay.
And actually there's something.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that. And also talk about, so when you have KEMSA in place, why are children not getting their vaccines? And all these kind of things. You'll tell us how this chain works and the role that you play. Citi has said hi to you. He's not in.
Yeah.
He's in Kisumu. He's doing big things.
For tomorrow.
Doing big things.
Yeah.
But the proverbs for this week are from Zimbabwe. And today's proverb is, if you're going to live by the river, make friends with the crocodile. If you're going to live by the river, make friends with the crocodile. What's your interpretation?
Do not throw stones if you live in a glass house. Yeah.
Can you say it in Patni's voice? That line was made famous by one Kamlesh Patni, and he was addressing a certain senior lawyer.
Yes, yes.
If you live in a glass house, do not throw stones. That's a good interpretation. So 1 year at KEMSA.
Yes.
Let's start with the latest. What's in the news now? And Ndu was reading it recently, and you can get the article, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we are seeing is that there's an issue with the supply of vaccines countrywide. Those are that issue here. So are vaccines available in our local hospitals? Where are they there? Where are they not? We know KEMSA is involved in the bulk purchase and then the distribution to the counties and then the counties to their facilities. Okay? So first you'll tell us what's happening there. Does KEMSA have vaccines to send to counties?
Actually, the vaccines is not a mandate of KEMSA.
Okay.
The vaccines is actually procured by joint efforts between the ministry and UNICEF. And I remember the issue was about some pending payments that were there. But as of last week, I remember that has been resolved. Okay. And I expect and I assume that in the course of this month, we should have the vaccines. Okay. So that I remember the minister and the PS had already addressed.
So KEMSA has no role at all?
KEMSA does not play any role
not
vaccines.
In the importation, not in the bulk handling, not in distribution?
Not we do procurement, warehousing and distribution, and we don't do anything for the vaccines.
Okay.
None of that for the vaccines?
None of that for the vaccines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other issue was the HIV testing kits.
Yes.
Moving from 2-step to 3-step. And then there was a whole story in the papers earlier this week.
Yes.
That a committee of parliament, one of the members of the committee of parliament saying, look, hey, ministry, what's happening? So there was the issue of identifying the suppliers and single sourcing suppliers or this and the other. And KEMSA was mentioned in it.
Yes. But I think I remember the paper yesterday say put KEMSA in the headline, but then in the document, in the paper and the article, they say that KEMSA is not involved.
Actually, it was interesting because the CEO of KEMSA is the one who stated that KEMSA is not involved.
Yes, yes.
So was there, in terms of the procurement for these HIV kits,
yes,
KEMSA is involved when it comes to that, is it not?
KEMSA is involved, but you see, what they do is they create at the ministry and with the different partners, they identify the kind of testing kits that they want and that the country needs. From there, they advise KEMSA to go ahead and procure from that entity. So it's a single sourcing.
So the ministry tells KEMSA,
yes,
procure from this
X,
particular
yes.
entity.
Yeah, exactly.
So KEMSA does not do what KEMSA normally does, which
Exactly.
is says we are inviting bids
Exactly.
for the supply of this specified item.
Exactly.
So in the in HIV test kits, this is you only handle what you've been told to.
Exactly.
Is it similar to the malaria mosquito nets
No
issue?
No. Malaria, you actually do a tendering.
Okay.
And yes, remember there were about 19 pre-qualified bidders who were approved by WHO.
Yes.
So it's very different. So direct sourcing is allowed by procurement law under certain circumstances, which have to be justified. And in this case, they were justified and approved by the various authorities, which is mostly the National Treasury. Yeah.
So we need to look at the issue, however, because there's a 2-stage and then there's a 3-stage test issue. And it always then comes back in terms of then who did, because KEMSA then is in control, or rather responsible for the procurement of these same kits.
Yes.
What will then be accepted or not accepted seems to be the bone of contention now with who was accepted for procurement. Where is it now when it comes to this? Because when we look at the HIV tests, then one would say you have actually not received an HIV test if it, according to the World Health Organization, if it has not gone through the 3 tests. KEMSA has the 2 tests. If it was previously accepted that the 2 test was what KEMSA was told, go ahead and procure this, and that is what is available in the country today, are we saying that authenticity then is guaranteed with the tests that were previously accepted, and that process can continue?
You know, the key issue, the contention here is that it's a new supplier versus the one that has always been supplying.
Yes.
And so I believe it's matters of interests.
Okay.
Because by the time that this new formula was arrived at, all the different, it was actually a full study. I actually have the report itself. It's not less than 100 pages that went through all the stakeholders, WHO, everybody, for them to actually arrive at the current one, which was actually supposed to be superior to the previous ones that we had. But there are people, of course, for these new people to be given, there are those who are denied. And I'm sure they're unhappy about it, because I've seen they were even at DCI. So, and again, as I mentioned, really KEMSA comes in at the tail end when everything has been done and approved, and then now we are told this is the one, because again, we are not a technical body. We depend on what the technical experts at the ministry and the stakeholders around the HIV actually come up with. So once they tell us that this is what as a country we will be procuring, we do not go back and say, okay, show us XYZ, because it's already gotten all the different approvals, and so as KEMSA, it's not much that we can speak on that matter. Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Chairman. Currently, the Ministry of Health is rolling out, the 3-step testing. But we have not completely phased out the 2-step testing, right? Yes. So when it comes to the 2-step, is KEMSA doing the procurement like you do with the others?
So the previous procurements, which had been done and not are still around, we still have some. Those are still being distributed, because it's just that the newer technology, the newer formula that has been brought in is superior. Yeah, okay. But it's just about how the percentage of the positive results, okay. Which are both over 99%. So it does not put people in danger in any way. So by the time the new kits have already been procured, and I understand some might be arriving or have already arrived. Yeah. So, there's always that period when both kits will be in the market. It's just that one is being phased out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. The issue of drugs then not reaching counties continues to be a problem. And the most recent is that quite a number of shortages are then being realized at the county level, and this is being chalked up to the big bills that are owed by counties to KEMSA. It seems that it's going to be it's continuously a perennial issue when it comes to that, because we will see then shortages at county facilities because of the fact that same counties have not paid their bills. What kind of interventions then are possible? Or are we just going to say, because the CEO did say, look, come and see our warehouses. It's not that so we don't have medicines. We have them. 70% stocked is what he said. But we can't release them because we still have these big bills.
Yep.
And everybody's government here.
The government has not paid the government.
The government. So the government
supply
then
of
cannot give
medicine
the
to
government
government
what they need.
services.
Yes.
Yeah. The currently counties owe us about 3 billion. And we have, by the time when we came in a year ago, about 26 counties were actively working and with KEMSA or procuring from KEMSA. Today we have about 43 of them. Only about 4 are not actively procuring from KEMSA because of the confidence they've had with KEMSA, but also from the supplies. If you look at the debt that we found last year, we found 3.4 billion. But of that 3.4 billion, 85% of it has been paid. Yeah. So it's only about 15% of that debt that we found then that has not been paid. But the reality is also, as a county pays you 100 million today, tomorrow they come and order for 100 million. Yeah. So net, you'll still always have that
They
debt.
always owe you.
Yeah. They will always owe you. So that 3 billion will always be there. Yeah. And actually, when we explained this to the president, he understood, and that's when, under supplementary 2, the supplementary in December, they allocated KEMSA 2 billion shillings for recapitalization because of the capital erosion during COVID, and also to allow KEMSA to operate even when with this credit line and facility that they have given the counties. Unfortunately, we have only received 500 million of that amount. The year is about to come to an end. We really still hope that we can get the other 1.5, but without that, then we become very constrained in terms of the working capital.
Yeah.
What it means is, we have suppliers as well. Of the suppliers, we owe them about 2.8 billion. You see, when with the 2 billion, we knew that we'd pay off the suppliers, and we are left with very little debt. In total, while we owe the supplier 2.8 billion, we are owed 7 billion. By different stakeholders. So the counties is 3 billion. We have the ministry, we have the donor partners and others who total almost about 7 billion. So if we were to be paid even half of our debts today, we'd clear all the suppliers, and counties will be able to get their flow. What we have also been discussing with counties is the prioritization of KEMSA when they're paid from the treasury. Because like now in June, we expect counties, treasury will be releasing the final amounts to counties this month. So we've been engaging with counties to ensure that money, as soon as they are paid, they can try as much as possible to clear KEMSA, so that we start the new year with very little debt from the counties, and even from our end, we start with very little owings to the suppliers. Yeah.
In the meantime, what happens? Because it seems as though we're resting on hope here. And because I'm just going to go to the very end.
Yes.
The end user who walks into a county facility today and says, well, I'd like to, here's my prescription, needs to be filled for whatever, and it is not available because...
Yeah, you see, KEMSA was in the Senate about 2 weeks ago, where the Senate committee had asked the KEMSA to come to engage, to actually review the pending payments to KEMSA. And their guidance to KEMSA was that we should not continue incurring additional debt from counties if they do not pay. And that what we've done is we've sent our team out to the counties to discuss with the teams there for them to prioritize the payment, because counties still receive money. It's just that maybe if they feel that KEMSA is not a big priority and that we will still continue to supply them even if they don't pay us, they use the money to pay for something completely irrelevant and unrelated, and then still keep KEMSA without the payment. So I think for us, and our call to the governors and the counties is to prioritize KEMSA payments, because even if one governor religiously pays on time, the others who are not paying make us not provide even for the one who's paying. Yeah. So it's in their interest that all of them actually pay their debts. I remember, like, even Nairobi County, they are the ones who owe us the most. And when I spoke with the governor, he told me that he will pay at his own time. At his convenience. At his convenience. But you see, then it means the governors like Nandi, who have no debt, also won't receive anything. So even for
they
us,
won't receive any.
You see, the supplier is.
You will not have the capacity.
You will not be able to pay the supplier.
Even if your bill is at zero.
Even if your bill is at zero, we just don't have drugs for you. So even for me, what I was encouraging them is, okay, if you don't want to buy from KEMSA, then just clear your debt to allow us to supply the others who want to be supplied.
IRUNGU, stop bullying Sakaja.
Wow.
He has dealt with many bullies
over the last 2 years.
You cannot be one of the bullies. 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
From this county. Explain to us what's the relationship between KEMSA, suppliers, KEMSA, supply of the medical commodities, and the counties. At what point does the user, who is the county, actually place a requisition and say, I need X, I need scalpels for my lab? No, scalpels are for? You place
surgery.
Theater. For theater.
So essentially, how it works is KEMSA does annual procurements, and from this year we'll start doing them biannually, where we call on the suppliers for all the different products that are within the Kenya essential medical lists.
Okay. So there's a list.
There's a list
of items. These are the essential medical items.
Yes.
Okay.
That we procure, because that's what we call the class A's.
Okay.
And that's what is required at any of the public health facilities. So we get the procurements, and the tenders goes out to the supplier. Okay. So once the supplier is given the framework agreement, then they will be supplying based on the LPOs, the purchase orders that they are given. Every time that the quantities hit a certain level, they can be asked for the reorder through LPOs. This helps in that once the supplier knows that they'll be supplying us for 2 years, they give us a good price, and two, they are ready, such that every time we tell them to supply, they are not caught unawares.
So their back-end logistics also is sorted.
They prepare their back-end logistics.
Okay.
Also, in terms of because of the volumes that then we are able to give them, given that it's if they look at the 2 year, then they're also able to give us a discounted price. That's why KEMSA, about most of our products are actually way cheaper than what you can find in the market, and it's really for that reason of the bulk orders and the economies of scale that we're able to generate. Once that comes to KEMSA, we have our warehouse here in Embakasi, but now we have another regional distribution center that we launched in Kisumu, and similarly we'll be doing another one in Mombasa within the next 3 months. So the suppliers will deliver their products to any of those 3 facilities. Then at the county level, all the way to at the public health facility, the dispensaries, the health center, and all those, they can now place their order. So they place their order to the county head of pharmacy, who now aggregates them as a county order, and then they send the county order to KEMSA. KEMSA will process that order, but then the delivery will not be sent centrally to the county. The delivery will be done directly to each of the health facilities
by KEMSA.
Okay. So that's what we call the last mile delivery. Last year, we supplied to 9,800 health facilities, and in this year we've over 10,000 health facilities. There's a total of about 15,000 health facilities.
Okay. When that county, we've called him who?
pharmacy.
The county pharmacist
Yes.
places the requisition. They're actually now putting it X number of items for this health facility.
Yes.
And does KEMSA then have a responsibility of by when to deliver those items to that health facility?
Yes. So
And
that's
what is the window? What's the allowable window?
So that's what we call the turnaround time. The period between us getting the order and us delivery. So the reason why we set up the Kisumu Regional Distribution Center, which covers currently 10 counties, but will be covering up to 19 counties, and the Mombasa, which will start off by covering 6 counties, is to reduce the turnaround time. There is absolutely no reason why Turkana should be getting their drugs from Nairobi. Or Vihiga, or it's or Tana River to get from Nairobi. So that's why we're actually putting up the regional distribution centers to bring down the order turnaround time. Currently, the order turnaround time is about 17 days. Our target is actually 7 to 10 days.
Okay.
So with these regional distribution centers, immediately cuts the turnaround time by 40%.
Wow.
So once we improve the efficiency at the KEMSA, then we'll actually be able to deliver within that 7 to 10 days. What we also did is we came in and we changed the transportation model. Before, KEMSA had moved everything out to third parties, transporters, where if some third party is unavailable or at some point, then KEMSA is left to depend fully on that party. So now we have changed that model. We've given the transporters, that party transporter, 40% of the distribution, and KEMSA is doing 40%, and Posta is doing 20%. That then means that all the distribution between KEMSA and its warehouses will be done by KEMSA. With that, we've been able to reduce the cost of logistics from 1 billion to about 600 million for this year. So that we are trying out this model this year, and within the next 2 years, we want to bring most of the transportation in-house. And we just have to strengthen the team that is actually internal and doing the distribution.
Why is Posta only doing 20%?
We started them out. They were doing courier before at KEMSA, and they have a lot of capacity. And we also felt that as a government entity, we need to be able to support them because they have the logistics. Actually, they are a logistics company. So we've given them to distribute in Mombasa region, the coast region. So with the commitment that if they actually surpass all the targets that we have given them, we will actually increase. For them.
Okay.
So it's up to them.
We'll take a break. As we go into this break, Irungu, there are times when you hear counties complaining, actually just the medical officer saying, we placed our requisition a long time ago, but KEMSA is delaying in the delivery. Are these complaints justified? And these are from the officers in medical facilities. What would be the cause of them saying, the reason I don't have the materials that I need is KEMSA?
No, it happens because, as I mentioned to you, that 17 days is the average, meaning that there are some who are delivered in 10 days, there are some who are delivered in 25 days. And also there are items that might not be there. Because right now our stock levels are at around 70%. So there's 30% of the items that might not be there, which goes to back orders. And we will only deliver to them what we have. And probably there is, we might be ready to deliver, but then we know that in another day or two, a certain item that is critical will be arriving. So we decide to wait. So that could lead in some of those delays. But once we have the funds, and we stock up our warehouses so that we are at 80 to 100% in terms of stock levels, then we'll be able to actually even bring down the turnaround time and ensure that the order fulfillment is beyond the current 69% to over 85%.
The chairman of the Kenya Medical Supplies Authority Board, IRUNGU NYAKERA, is our guest. He's been in office here on his board for 1 year. And the acting CEO for 1 year. You tell us, why is this guy still acting 1 year? People in health wanaonewangwa sana by the way. Madaktari wanaonewa kila mahali. Everybody is acting. You are a doctor, you're acting.
Yeah, you're a doctor.
Health world.
Acting. In the manifesto of Kenya Kwanza during the campaigns, one of the pledges that was made by the government and your party was part of the Kenya Kwanza even then was that I'm opening it so that I read it directly. Health commodity supply is the headline. We will establish a stakeholder-managed national procurement scheme along the lines of the petroleum products procurement to leverage on bulk purchases and ensure transparency and accountability in the public procurement process. KEMSA scandals must end. And then candidate explained that what we want to see is an OTS system, open tender system, like happens in the petroleum sector, where the government says, so these are the needs from our essential medical list. These are the needs of the country for the next month, for the next quarter, for the next half year, for the next year. And all you suppliers come. All of you, and this brings in KEMSA, this brings in the ones who supply for the, what do they call the religious, it's called what? Faith-based.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, there's a supplier for the faith-based industry. Then the other private sector suppliers come in, and all of you bid. If KEMSA is the cheapest, KEMSA gets there. They need to supply. If the other is the cheapest, they get. If the one that is being used by USAID for some of the supplies is the cheapest, they get. How far are we with that?
You know, first, the government, KEMSA was established in 2004. And the government has spent a lot of money in building KEMSA to what it is today. And not just the government, but even partners. Even the warehouse, for example, the warehouse which we hope to launch later next month by the president has cost about 6.5 billion.
In Mombasa?
No, the one in Mbakasi, just not far from here, of which is funds from the government, from KEMSA, and from the Global Fund.
Okay.
And so I know during that period of COVID, there was a lot of frustration about KEMSA because of the scandal. So a lot of course, pronouncements were based on that. But the reality is KEMSA is actually a very relevant and necessary organization. Actually, some were even saying that we take KEMSA to the counties and have that each county has its own KEMSA.
Yeah.
And you see, then it will not benefit from the economies of scale that actually KEMSA is able to benefit from. What has been now advanced, and I think is also still progressing, is actually having a national quantification board that brings together the demands of the country. Not just of the private public sector side, but even the private sector. We know that on paracetamols, how many paracetamols does the country need? How much insulin does the country consume on an annual basis? Now, based on that, we are able to go into a certain manufacturer and tell them, this is what Kenya wants to produce, this much paracetamol, this much amoxicillin, this much insulin. We'd want you to give us a much lower price than what you are able to give us if we were just coming in directly.
Yeah.
Or it will even allow for a manufacturer to establish locally, knowing that these are the quantities that are consumed here. So KEMSA will also be buying from such a system, but now at a much lower and price. And also KEMSA can buy and continue to supply to the private sector. Actually, we have a division within KEMSA called the Supplementary Supplies Division, which we are now revamping. That is to supply to non-public health facilities. So it will be supplying to your referral hospitals, the 6 regional national referral hospitals, and your Nairobi Hospital, your Aga Khan, your private facilities. They can actually buy from KEMSA because then they will be the pricing there is lower. The quality is guaranteed because we have our labs that test all the products, and of course we are still able to extend some kind of credit that others will not be able to, even though for this other side will not be extending the same one.
Currently, why are those private health facilities not coming to KEMSA? I mean, private health facility is there for business.
Yes.
And if you can reduce the cost of these materials, it means that you actually stand a chance of a bigger bottom line.
Yeah.
And if KEMSA is the most competitive one, then they'll be coming to KEMSA.
Unfortunately, because we are not able to fully service our primary clients, which is the counties.
Which is the counties for previously stated problems.
Yes. So until we are able to satisfy the counties, then we are not able to open for the others.
Okay.
But we, from the structures and the strategies that we put in place, like now our bank has also given us some capitalization, which will come in the next few months of about $32 million, which will help us. So some of those efforts are the ones that now will allow us to take it to the next level that can actually open up to the facility outside the public facilities.
So a year ago, when things changed at the helm, and that brought you into the chairmanship and a new CEO and a bunch of other things, we had equated KEMSA with scandal. It didn't matter where you looked. In fact, we thought that when you walk to KEMSA's office,
KEMSandal.
we say KEMScandal. Or we say KEMSA, the home of scandal. Welcome. That is what it was.
Yes.
Really? When we talked about COVID billionaires, were they millionaires or billionaires?
Billionaires.
They were billionaires.
Yes.
KEMSA's name was there.
Yes.
There was corruption. People were sent home. We don't know what happened to them, by the way, if that story died. So how have things been over the last 12 months? And how have things progressed away from those, labels?
I saw the paper 2 days ago. I think it must have been the Standard. It was trying to paint KEMSA in good light. Because over since we came in, there's not been a single scandal. And their headline was the most interesting because it said, "New KEMSA boss now promises a brighter day for the scandalous body." So I was asking them, was it necessary adding the scandalous body? So it still carries that tag, but I would say that it's been a whole year and over. We have not seen anything. Actually, most people ask us whether we are preparing for a big one. And that's why we are quiet.
There's the lull before.
But now it's been a whole year lull. They'll wait for another 2 years plus for that, because what we found an organization that had real challenges. And I think, and also significant mismanagement on the same because of the challenges. And that's what we have been addressing. If I just talk briefly of those things, the key ones, critical ones. One was on HR. You see, it's about people. And if you do not take care of your staff, your workers, then there is no way they will take care of the organization. We had over 250 staff working from home. And we had the others who are working in their place. And for those people, they knew that their job is not secure because the other guys, if they ever recalled to come from home, they are gone. So we had to stabilize that. And that's why we recalled everybody on our day one and we identified the ones we want to keep and sent home another 250. And that was the beginning. And telling the people who have come back, this is your job, take care of it, and give them contracts, to those who are 1 year contracts. They've almost running out, but we'll renew them within the course of this month. But in doing so, we wanted to create permanence for them, because you can't have even very junior people on contracts. It's not fair. For them, especially having 1 year contracts. Every year you renew it for 1 year. And before we came, they were getting renewals for 1 month. So you can imagine you're getting your salary this month and then the salary together with a contract for the next month. Even that paperwork is crazy. So we came in and we hired KPMG, who are actually now doing our HR instrument, doing our establishment, so that within the next month, we'll actually have concluded the exercise. So we can take it to the ministry and to PSC. We finalize, we get a proper the establishment for KEMSA, and we recruit for permanent staff And of course, we'll be recruiting from the pool who are already there. So that's once people then get that the confidence that their employer actually cares for them. That's the beginning. Yeah.
Why did they get onto contract in the first place?
Because KEMSA had become an employment bureau for politicians. Yeah. So you just say,
send your guy there.
Send your guy there. Yes, we don't have space, but just
another fanya kazi
tumpatia 1-2-3 months contract. With time, we had gone to about 922 with an establishment of 341. Yeah, so the 600 new staff.
What?
Yeah,
600 people on contract.
Yes, above your establishment. Yeah, you establish 341, you have 922 staff. Yeah, so that's why even the previous board had actually sent home everybody. Actually, that was the recommendation. Even when I came, the Global Fund, USAID were asking me, why did you reverse what the previous board had said, which is sent everybody home and then you recruit afresh? And I said, it's the same people we'll recruit. There's really no need of causing that much pain to all those people. Let's do it systematically, the same way it will be done in any other country that is empathetic of the people who work there. So that was the first step, and engaging the staff in actually appreciating that the success of their own personal successes is based on the success of KEMSA itself as an institution. Secondly, was looking at all the different stakeholders. KEMSA has being very central to the health pillar, has a lot of the stakeholders. Key is the Council of Governors, the Ministry of Health, the donors, and the suppliers, and listening to each of them and the challenges that they're having. And that's why we've been able to move the order fill rate from 26% to 69% by talking to the suppliers, even when they're not being paid. They understand, because whenever there's little money, their payments are done. There is no money that is being diverted to do projects. We stopped any new projects. There is no additional project that is being done. We are focusing on what is currently ongoing. From the Council of Governors, we met the council. We met the CECs, chief officers for finance, for health, and the CECs, just to take them through the reforms that we are doing at KEMSA and encouraging them to pay KEMSA and also to order from KEMSA. Thirdly was the systems. Yeah, we came in and we found that the organization had two separate systems and not speaking to each other. There's one enterprise system, there's one warehouse system. So even if you ask the finance guy what is in the store, he doesn't know. Yeah, he does not have login credentials for the other system. So we found that over the last 2-3 years, every board paper talked about an ERP system, and we said that we will do it. And we actually went out and got an SAP system, which is a global system that is, they are experts in the healthcare, and within another 2 months they will have finished. They started in January. We are almost done implementing the new system. That new system will help with the audit, accountability, even at the county level, the orders that they are making, they'll be able to see as they are ordering what's in the store, what's not. And we will know in advance, even before they make their order, so that we can start engaging our suppliers to ensure that comes there in advance. So those are some of the key things that we did to just. Then if you look at the procurement department, which had always been the issue, for the first time we now have a procurement director who we recruited about 2 months ago. KEMSA did not have one for the last 4 years. And when we just have someone acting this month, another one acting next month, for 4 years, they didn't have a procurement director. The team, we reshuffled it. I think now 90% of the team at procurement is new. And everyone was complaining they will bring new scandals, they will do whatever. We told them it's okay. Yeah. You do whatever you want, but us will do whatever for what we are here to do. And actually those are those farm changes that we brought in what has helped us to ensure that we stay in the right places. We are not on the newspapers on a daily basis. You're not
heading in the right
direction.
You
can be in the newspaper on a daily basis, but not with those slurs that you speak of. Isn't it? So do you think then now the improvement of these systems, making sure that KEMSA is doing what it's actually supposed to be doing, turning from an employment bureau to actually what it is that it has been mandated to do, will drop then now over time this negative image that you've worn for forever, even before you?
You see, our thinking was that let it come from our people who we serve. Let the counties be the one to say that actually the order fill rate now is 90%. It's headed to 100%. Let the people go into the hospitals say that they're seeing and they're finding medicine there. That will even be a better, will speak better for us than us coming out here and talking about all those things, because I can say what we are doing, but if it's not being felt on the ground, then it won't bring any change.
Those are just words.
So the stories that we see, like the one yesterday about there being no medicine in the hospital, is good for us to see that, because then we can ask ourselves, so why isn't it? So we know the reason, so what can we do? We engage the partners and we engage the stakeholders more to see how we can work to bring about change that's necessary.
So are you really looking for a new CEO?
Yes. Yes,
why? What's wrong with the CEO that you have right now?
We are not looking for a new CEO.
Okay.
We are looking for a CEO.
You're looking to fill the position.
We are looking to fill the position of a CEO. We have an acting CEO, so he's not substantive. I'm guessing that he'll also apply.
Okay.
Like everyone else will apply. So for us as a board, we'll just fill the position of the CEO.
So it's possible.
Why has the board taken so long to recruit for this position? So yes, we understand the CEO that came in was not recruited by this board, right? You joined at the same time.
Technically,
and
he
then,
was. Yeah.
And then now you had to regularize his appointment as an acting CEO.
Yes.
Why take 12 months? You've filled up positions. You've
hired somebody 2 months.
You've hired a director of procurement, but you've taken so long to fill up the position of a CEO.
A CEO is a very critical person in an organization. There are too many moving parts. As I have mentioned, the things that we've been able to achieve, and so we felt that if we bring in somebody when we have not stabilized at that point, we'd all of us be working in. We won't even know the kind of person we are looking for at recruitment. Yeah, and that's why we took time, and I told the powers that be the same. To give us about a year to stabilize the organization, to feel that we are now ready to go into having a substantive person filling the position of the CEO. So yes, we've seen, and you've mentioned some of them, people being acting for 6 years,
Director
8 years.
General of Health, acting CEO KEMSA. If you're acting somewhere, you're a doctor somewhere.
Yes. No, there's a CEO that I know who acted for 8 years before he started now on his properly recruited 8 years.
Did he actually get the job?
Yes, he did for another 8 years.
So that was clever of them.
Yes.
So he actually ended up serving 16
years. Yes.
The KEMSA has for a long time been seen as a political power baron's cash cow, right? And what has been done to rid it of this tag? First of all, is it true? That, the people, because of the huge budgets that KEMSA has, the people who are going to try and play games here are people who have some political influence with the political powers that be. Did you find this as a statement of truth when you joined the board of KEMSA?
I think so. Even if you look at just the recruitment alone, saying having so many people brought in by different politicians back then, but that's changing. That has changed. From a business perspective, you see, I think KEMSA's scandals were there, but in probably smaller ones until COVID. COVID really exposed the underbelly, and also we do as a country, we do not have and we did not have any set procurement guidelines of how to procure during a crisis. There was absolutely no way to say, we need gloves, we put in the newspaper, we advertise for 14 days, we tender, and you need...
Things were moving very fast.
Things were moving very fast. Yeah. And that's why the tendering was such that you're told, bring. You have PPEs, bring. You have the ventilators, bring. We will buy, because all these hospitals are crying that they do not have ventilators. And so who who will be there close enough to know that those things can be brought? Of course, the politicians, who might also be able to access resources, either directly or through their own connections. It's the same people. They know people who have the money and all that. So that's actually how a lot of the politicians were involved in the tendering, the COVID tenders, and leading to the crisis. But since then, because I've been there now for 1 year, I can tell you without fear that it's the people who are supplying actually genuine suppliers.
Okay.
If you look at, for example, the pharmaceuticals, which form the bulk, it's all the local manufacturers. I can tell you 80% or 90% are Asian, because they're the ones who produce the pharmaceuticals in that business. So on the non-pharmaceuticals, that has an array of all Kenyans there. But seeing big politicians or politicians there, not really. Actually, I've not seen them there. And of course, I've also not been asking them to come. I think it's okay the way it is.
So, I mean, of course, even without saying that it was a thought in the mind of many, guaranteed, that KEMSA was an easy target when it came to then, I can do whatever I want, I can go tender and not tender, get the thing and move on. Somebody even said they stood outside the gate and prayed.
Yes.
And, got the tender. So how do we divorce people from this? How do you divorce people from this idea that KEMSA is an easy target when it comes to this? These guys wanted to go and CT and Eric already had a plan before you came.
I can tell you, for example, Global Fund. To get a tender for Global Fund it's very competitive, and it's competitive on price and the paperwork, the kind of document that you put in. Once that is completed, all those documents are taken to Global Fund. Before you can award. They go through the tender, the process, the reasons that anybody was failed, and they have their local fund managers here. For Global Fund is PwC. They give them, and it's them who now go through it and say, okay, proceed or not. Even the issue.
So they audit the tendering process.
Exactly, before an award.
Right.
And now also, I can also confirm to you, USAID, left KEMSA, but now they've gotten very comfortable with KEMSA, and actually in the course of this year, we expect USAID to come back to KEMSA. The money that they had not paid us, about $3.2 million over the last 4 years or so, they're part of the $7 billion that they owe us. They have actually started processing it. They'll be paying it within the next 2 weeks. They are saying that now they are comfortable with the governance structures at KEMSA, and in the course of this year, they'll be coming back. Itaingia. Tulikuwa pia na madeni.
Chairman, thank you very much for joining us. IRUNGU NYAKERA, Chairman of the Kenya Medical Supplies Authorities Board, has been our guest. We'll be talking about 1 year at the helm of KEMSA. What's happened? What should we expect going forward?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.